Hey, what's going on, y'all? It's episode five. We back again. Episode five. I'm taking 15. The Alder. You already know. I got somebody special here today. Adriana, what's going on? What's going on? How you doing?
Hey, good, good. Sad
Yeah.
about spring break ending, but we have to get back to the
Sure.
kids.
Let's get back to the kids. Speaking of, so that means you in the education field. You talking about spring break and everything about to go back to school. So, yeah. So tell us a little about yourself. What are you passionate about right now and everything. Because I know you're in the education field. You're a teacher, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So, hey, I'm Adriana, and I am a fourth grade writing teacher in Georgia. Working with the kids, teaching writing and the concepts of writing and how to structure all of that. Because if you see on social media, I can tell when a lot of people skipped writing, fell asleep in writing with their
Mm.
opinion pieces because opinions are supposed to be backed with facts. But that's neither here nor there. But I'm doing that. But I'm also a doctoral candidate. My topic is about integrating, how teachers perceive integrating technology into education. So I like technology, all the things, but I'm passionate about the kids as well.
Okay. Okay. And how long you been a teacher for?
I hate this question because technically, license-wise, I've been in education for 10 years.
Okay.
However, my journey didn't start with the licensing, right? Like I literally came out of high school and I was a coach, coaching
Mm.
not elementary, middle school step team, and that parlayed into me being a coach at the middle school, I mean at an elementary school level, high school level. Then I also ended up founding a after school program at one of the middle schools that was close to my college campus. So it's like I literally just it's what I do. Kids, really kids,
Mm-hmm.
education, the whole child. That's me.
Okay, okay, okay. So what are some of I guess, some of the challenges you face, in the education field? Because, like I was telling you before, I have a background in education myself. I used to be a behaviorist. So I used to be working with people like y'all, in the classroom, trying to come up with a plan, trying to come up with, strategies to have that success in the classroom, on the behavior side, and you're just trying to teach. So what are some of the challenges you face, while in the classroom or outside the classroom?
I think that the disconnect, like I feel like when we were growing up, there was more like community. It was like the parents and the teachers were on the same page. The admin was on the same page. I feel like for the most part, everybody was on the same page. I feel like in present times, we're not on the same page. We're not on the same page with discipline. We're not on the same page when it comes to accountability. And I think one of the biggest challenges that I have is because I have high expectations for all of my students, don't care the level. Like it's certain things that you're able to do as a child, even with deficits. So of
Mm-hmm.
course you differentiate. However, the goal is the goal. The plan is the plan. And sometimes I think when kids have teachers prior to me who aren't honest because I tell kids like you're below grade level. Like
Mm-hmm.
the parents, I let them know your child's not on grade level. And I think because of my nature to be like so upfront, but I also don't want to lie to children or parents. I think it's important for them to know exactly where their kids are so that we can work from there. So I think one of my biggest challenges initially is like towards the beginning of the year, parents are like, oh my gosh, my kid got a C. They've never gotten a C. Oh, they have a
Mm-hmm.
52. And then I'm always having to be like, okay, here's the standard for fourth grade. Here's the rubric that, if you go on, because I post everything, I'm very transparent with parents. We use Class Dojo. So I'm like, have you
Okay.
gone to Class Dojo? Have you seen the rubric? Have you seen what we're going over for this genre? Here's a copy of what your child actually produced.
Okay.
If you were looking at like the scale and what's being graded, you can see. So it's like typically they come with like, "Arr, you're just picking on my kid," like that type of thing. But then
Uh-huh.
like as the year progresses and the kid grows more confidence and they're like, I didn't even know that they could do this. And I'm like, yeah, so y'all all stressing me out for no reason. Just let me do my job. So I just feel like
Yeah.
if everybody is like on the same page with holding kids to high expectations, critical thinking and problem solving, we'll be a lot further along.
Hmm. Hmm. No, that's I mean that's a good point. That's a good point because I find that, especially like in your grade level, 'cause I used to be in the elementary grade level, I found like there was just a lot of kids that just could not read at all, and that was a problem. So, do you feel like they have lowered the bar over the years as far as like pushing children along to the next grade and everything like that? Or do
So,
you
yes, but also curriculum wise, a lot has changed. So I
okay.
keep, because I'm a millennial, I feel like I've had the pleasure, obviously, of being a child, but
Hmm.
I had the pleasure of going through the change. So I know that when we were in school, it was like hooked on phonics. Everything was phonics, 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 science of reading, understanding the fact that you have to know your letter sounds. Knowing letter sounds allow you to put words together. When you can put words together, I mean sounds together, then you can build sentences. From building sentences, you can build a paragraph. So really being able to understand those steps, that's super important. But then it changed from to being like memorization, just memorize, 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 memorize.
Hmm.
Our brains are not wired that way. Like we have to know the why. Once you have the understanding, no one can take that understanding away from you. So I'm
Okay.
noticing that a lot of foundational skills are being skipped. And then it was something that I learned because I worked in Detroit for a little bit and then I moved back to Georgia where I'm from. So when I was in
Hey.
Detroit, I noticed that kindergarten wasn't mandatory. So for me, I was like, if kindergarten isn't mandatory, we literally have kids coming in first grade, but you have a cluster of kids who have already got, received those foundational skills. So you're telling me we're taking basically a preschooler mentally from going from preschool and you're putting them in first grade and we're surprised about learning gaps because my
Hmm.
master's degree is in birth through kindergarten, really birth through eight education and how critical those years are. So it's like being a sponge soaking up everything. It's also why we see like as an adult you trying to learn a new language, you like your brain like what is this?
Right.
So it's just like when we skip those foundational years, we've already set our kids back. And then it's like as a teacher, they're like teach to the standard. You got to teach to the standards, which I get because overall, if everyone's teaching standards and they don't care how you get there to teach it, as long as you're reaching the kids, we can work with that. But if I have a fourth grader who has not mastered first grade standards, but we're all the way up here and we're talking about inferencing and formulating opinion and being able to analyze text to use to support your topic. What?
Hmm.
You're just like, what am I supposed to do with like they're never going, I'm not gonna say never. Without extra support, such as tutoring services or extra intervention and things like that, that typically cost money.
Yep,
Because
yep,
I used
yep.
to
It's
be a
all in
tutor.
budget. Hmm. Hmm.
And it's crazy because during the pandemic, I said, I'm not doing this online teaching stuff. So I became a tutor. So I had parents paying me like $50 an hour, but these were parents who could afford it, who recognized that their third grader had a gap, and they was like, okay, I need help. So they're able to pay for it. But then when you have families who don't necessarily have those resources and things like that, the gaps just get bigger. And it just goes to my theory of the haves and have-nots.
Right, right. And yeah, that unfortunately that's just the name of the game, and that's how the game goes. But with people out there like you that are, trying to push, progressive, action along is gonna help, whether it be just a little bit, further. So, and that's what I wanted to ask you too. Like, if you were in charge of the curriculum, if you were in charge of, like a superintendent or you had some type of authority, what are some of the minor or major changes that you would make in, the setting, to be more successful? I know you went over a couple, but like how specifically would you approach this?
So for me, what I think, and I don't want to say too much because I am working on a project that I can't talk about, but the little things that I will say is I would get rid of the whole school day as far as kids have to be there at 7 all the way to God knows how long. I don't know. I just feel
Yeah,
like
if you
we're
went
there
after
all day.
school, if you went after school, you there all day.
Yes, I feel like the school day is
Yeah.
way too long. And even because we're departmentalized, and this is something that thought about because for people who don't know what departmentalization is, once you get to third, fourth, and fifth grade, one teacher does we don't teach all of the subjects anymore. So I have on my fourth grade team, I have a math teacher, a science social studies teacher, I'm the writing teacher, and then we have a reading teacher. So what I've noticed is my first three blocks. So my first three rotations, that's before lunch. Our lunch is at 12:15. I'm able to pull so much out of my first three blocks because it's like peak hours of like cognitive like focus. They can do it. And when we go to lunch at 12:15 and our lunch ends at 12:45, they are dragging to my fourth rotation. Like, and that's the last rotation of the day. So it's like, to me, my fourth rotation, I always say they get the short end of the stick because it's just like they're exhausted. We've been there all day. They like trying to pull a kid to learn from basically like 1 to 2 o'clock. I'm tapped out at that point.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm finding myself like, okay,
Yeah.
me and my team teacher's like, all right, just one more rotation. Just one more because you
That's
really at that point we'd had lunch, we've put in all this energy and effort for the first half of the day. And that's really like we started at what 7:45. So I just rounded up to 8.
mhm,
So literally from 8 to 12, it seems like, and this is not based on any research, it's based on my personal lived
mhm.
experience from like watching teachers, watching students. That's when they're focused. When we get back from lunch, it's hard. Like it's really hard. Like I have to really gamify learning a lot um
Mm.
for my students. So I literally will go in with like a mini lesson and that's probably like 15 minutes of like lock in, focus. This is the skill. This is what we're doing. But then I have to make it interactive or else I'm gonna lose them. Because this is just a different generation of students and I try my best to like balance paper pencil, balance Chromebooks versus non-Chromebooks. So I think I do a pretty good job at
No.
that.
That's
Um,
good. That's
so
good. That's amazing. That's amazing that you were able to just recognize. Well, you've been in the game for, quite some years, so you understand like, okay, what works and what doesn't work. So yeah, I do agree with you. The day definitely be too long, but that's a bigger thing. They're trying to condition people, condition the kids to be like, okay, this is what your day is gonna be like. You're just gonna be sitting around wasting time, So especially when you get into the work arena, and then there's that cycle never ends. But I will say, with the nuances of technology and where we're going, things kind of have to change, right? Things kind of have to
mhm.
change because you see all these different things throughout time change. Why hasn't the education system changed so much? And it's like the kids now are not the kids of yesterday or when we were coming up. It's different level of patience, it's different level of attention span. So it's kind of like we're dealing with different types of humans. So
We are.
yeah, 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 and I know you see every day. It's just like wow, like it's crazy, but at the same time, this is where we are, and we got to deal with it. So we got about a minute and a half. What advice do you have to people out there? Being that we're currently in this time period right now, what advice do you have for them for the future, or what encouraging words do you have for the people?
I say anybody who is working with students, first work on yourself. I think that a lot of the times we come in with our own projections, our own ideas about how things should go. And I fight the system all the time because it's like for me, I'm able to see my kids as who they are, what they need, and to be able to give it. And kids recognize that too, but I think that a lot of the times adults who work with students, they're thinking of themselves as if they are the child now and they kind of put
Hmm.
their needs or their emotions and things in front of the students versus realizing that they're children. They're children at the end of the day. We shouldn't be
Yeah.
harboring on things that they have done like at 8 o'clock and then you still pissed off at 12. Like that's crazy. So I just encourage people who work with kids to have a lot of patience with kids and understanding that kids are not going to be who you want them to be. They're going to be who they're going to be. And it's just our job to just instill good social emotional learning, critical thinking, and problem solving. Those are my three things that I just live by as an educator. And that's something that I communicate to my kids as well. And it works.
Man, that's amazing. That's amazing. So listen, that's basically, what we have for y'all today. Just a little quick, 15-minute discussion. I appreciate you for, pulling up and giving us this game, giving us this knowledge. We're gonna have, her information in the description. So if you want to connect with her, if you want to build with her, anything like that, I'm gonna put it in the description. So just reach out. Um, yeah, I appreciate you for pulling up, and I appreciate you for, constantly being there. And I see the work that you're doing. I see.
Thank you.
So just don't stop. That's the advice
I'm
I'm gonna
not.
give you.
I'm not.
Don't stop. I know sometimes it's like but no, just keep pushing through. Keep pushing through. Trust. So but until next time, guys, we're gonna see you. And another thing, um anybody that's dealing in the education space, just know that you are not alone when it comes to these things. Just think about the discussion we just had. So you're not alone. You're not alone. So just get those ideas. If you got any ideas, get them out there. All right.
Mhm.
And we'll see y'all next time. Peace.
Adios.